Hey everybody, before we start the show, I wanted to let you know that this episode of Tabletop Babble is brought to you by our friends at Hero Forge. Hero Forge offers fully customizable tabletop miniatures with dozens of fantasy races and thousands of parts to choose from. Their easy-to-use design tool lets you build perfect miniatures online using a fully 3D, in-depth character creator right in your web browser. It is incredible. I have been using Hero Forge for years now, and it looks great. It's super duper fun, and I just love building characters. I go on there sometimes just to see what I can dream up, and then I always end up purchasing it. Hero Forge offers custom minis in a variety of materials, including plastic and metal options, and they offer downloadable model files. If you have a 3D printer at home, you can use these to print your own. Hero Forge is constantly expanding the catalog of customization options, adding new parts every week and major features like new races and custom posing on a regular basis. Visit HeroForge.com to start designing your custom miniature today and check back often because new content is added every week. That's HeroForge.com. This is Tabletop Babble. I'm James Introcaso. Today on the show, I am chatting with Anthony, Joyce, and Justice Arman. These are two of the most prolific and most positive, exciting game designers that are out there working today. They've got a ton of stuff on the Guild. They've also got their own projects that they're moving to other platforms with, and wow, just incredible creators. We talk a lot about Elminster's Candlekeep Companion, which is a product that they put out a couple months ago that's really great. They've got more stuff coming. They've got a supplement that will be launched very soon that's all about Darkhold and the Zentarum and playing evil characters, but, you know, not being evil about it. They are really great. They always put together an amazing team. They're just good people. So go check out their work after you listen to this interview. And here it is. All right, everybody, now I'm here with two of my favorite creators, two of the best humans on this planet and in our D&D community. Before we get to the meat of it, let's go around the table and meet you both. First, Justice, let's start with you. Who are you, and what do you do in the world of tabletop role-playing games?
Hi, my name is Justice Arman. I'm a writer. I primarily write for the DM's Guild with Dungeons and Dragons, but I also work for Beetle and Grimm's as a event coordinator / writer goblin. So I've been doing that for about a year now. But yeah, and then by day I'm a surgical clinic manager.
And you cosplay a mean Volo, too.
Yes, I need to work on my mustache. It's a little sorry compared to the one in Volos, but I'm working on it.
Excellent. And, of course, Anthony is also with us. Anthony, who are you and what do you do in the world of tabletop role-playing games?
Hey, James. Thanks for having us on. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Anthony Joyce. I'm a adventure writer, creator on the DM's Guild. I've been doing it since about late 2018. Really enjoy like narrative, adventure design, and whatnot. And in my real life job, I'm a newly promoted major in the Army. I'm an Army strategist. So I get to have two really cool jobs that I enjoy.
Well, congratulations, and thank you both, because I know you're both going into work still right now in the time of COVID and everything, and doing your best to help a lot of people. So thank you for that. And I also know you're helping people with your D&D enthusiasm and your D&D products, which is really great. In fact, something that people may know you for is Elminster's Candlekeep Companion, which is one of the things that I want to talk to you about today. But I would also love to kind of go through and have you shout out some of your favorite products that you have put out on the DM's Guild. I know you work together on a lot of stuff, but I also know that you've created other things in your career. So I'm hoping that you could just shout out a couple of things people might know you from, because I'm guessing that anybody listening to this podcast has at least one of the things that one of you has made.
I'm mainly known for a few products. My main line of that got me started was the Era of Orcus series. It's an Adventures League community created content. There's 4 verses, 2 tier 1 and 2 tier 2, all developed for online conventions. This is so pre-COVID, I actually made these things specifically designed for online play. So they come with a lot of graphics and toolkits. Other things I'm known for, Weekend at Strahd's. I collaborated with Oliver Clegg on that. That's a great party one-shot, 80s themed and whatnot. And then recently, a one-on-one adventure, The Blood Hunter, that I designed, and Justice actually was the editor on that. And I work with Gordon McAlpin. He does all my graphic design, so the products really shine because of that. And then besides that, I work with Justice on everything now. Really, we're a good team. So I'll let him chime in on his stuff.
So I actually kind of got invested in the DMs Guild with a product that Anthony and I had both written for a contest that MT Black did for the Lonely Scroll adventure contest, where Anthony got the best adventure and I had the best wilderness adventure. I also wrote Devil's Advocate, which is this guide to infernal contracts to help with Descent into Avernus games. And then I did a milk-themed horror adventure called Step Right Up, which is just wild. And I got to run that last week, which taught me a lot about design, having to run my own adventure. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that I really like and appreciate about both of you is you're not trying to do what other people have done. It seems like you're always innovating, improving on the format. For instance, a milk horror themed adventure, right, is not something that I would have come up with in my brain, nor if that had occurred to me, I would think like, whoa, this is risky. And Step Right Up is great. Similarly, the Blood Hunter, the one-on-one adventure, right? To see like, okay, I'm going to take on this one-on-one adventure format, but also I'm going to sort of design it for use with this class that's on the guild, right? Like that was a lot of things being put together, a lot of risks. Weekend at Strahd's.
Yeah. Who would have thought, right? I still get crap from my graphic designer, Gordon, when he designed that. He's like, dude, this thing is like the biggest piece of garbage I've ever seen. Like, what are you making? I'm like, no, trust me. It's going to be great. Trust me.
The layout reminded me of like the bus texture in like a Greyhound bus. It was perfect.
It was so great. And I remember I learned about that product when Chris Perkins, right, tweeted out the cover and said, like, this makes me so happy that this is going to be a thing that exists. It hadn't even come out yet, and he was tweeting about it. So it's awesome to see that kind of thing. And you are both, I would say, leaders in the community in the sense that, like, you always seem willing to help out new people, to make connections between old hats who have been on the DMs Guild for a while and people who are just emerging. I think sometimes within communities, creator communities particularly, right, there can be this idea of competition and like, ooh, I don't want you to make Heir of Orcus verse 5 because that's going to take away from Planet of the Tarrasques 2, right? Or something like that. But you definitely seem to have this attitude, which I think is true in all creator communities, especially in the DMs Guild, which is sort of just starting to get its respect from people outside the DMs Guild community as like a legitimate place to find content and buy it. Like the rising tide lifts all ships, and we're only as strong as our weakest link, and that all of those cliches. Could you talk to me a little bit about how you both see the community of DMs Guild creators and the value of giving back to that community?
I totally agree. The DMs Guild is really starting to get some legitimacy. You have people like Ed and Alex doing their Border Kingdoms book. You have Matt Mercer putting his putting his Blood Hunter class and updating that for the wildfire charity. I'm of the the perspective that the more the merrier when it comes to the DMs Guild, because the more traffic we get coming in there, the more these unappreciated projects get noticed, the more pay goes into creators. A lot of us are hobbyists, but some of us, we're making a good bit of our income from this. And it's one of the few places that you can, write about something you're passionate and have a direct, easy to navigate as far as barriers go, to just put that out to the public, advertise it, and then, make money for your writing. So when it comes to, bringing on new people, there used to be a creator circle on the Facebook, but that's kind of how I figured out the etiquette of the DMs Guild. And people were just always so willing to teach me when I got started, and never really treated anything as a bad question. We're just open and willing to rehash the same, do I put the guild logo on the front or the back? And they're like, well, you put it on the front. It needs to go here. And it needs to be this one. And people were just always so willing to do that with me, that it's kind of like with the event they have going now, the Play It Forward. Well, you got to pay that time forward. When others have helped you, it's just kind of the way I was raised. You turn around and you help people when you start to get your bearings.
I just think that's a great sentiment, because I do think sometimes, I'm a television writer, producer. I've been in theater work and that kind of thing. And that doesn't always happen with new people. It's like, hey, I had to find out my own way. You have to too, right? Because I don't want you taking my jobs or that kind of thing. So it is really nice that attitude is prevalent, and you two are leading that. Anthony, what about you?
I come from the military, and everything there is driven by teamwork. You can't succeed in war as an individual, right? So everything's kind of built on that foundation of you need others. And by bringing others together, you're going to be 10 times more successful than you can ever be on your own. And the same philosophy filters over to the guild. The more success there is with other creators on the guild, the more customers it's going to bring in. I remember back in 2018 when I first got involved, a lot of people on Reddit, a lot of people in the D&D community kind of saw DM's Guild as like, that's homebrew stuff. It's not not high quality, this, that, and the other.
They'll still interrupt to tell you if you post on there.
Oh, they will. But we have made massive strides on the guild since then. And I think it's only made the marketplace thrive. And you look at products, and I continue to say this, the data is there. You look at products in the top, 50 to 20, right, range on the best selling. Those products are making more than the top 10 were, 2 years ago, because it's not about placement. And that's the thing that I try to tell people. It's not about, you shouldn't get jealous. You shouldn't get envious of other people. You should be happy and root your fellow creators on, because as we've seen, the dollars that are going into the marketplace are just getting exponentially more and more. And the second thing I'll add is with the creator community, Justice and I, we hire a lot of graphic designers, artists, editors, that they are creators too. And I think a lot of times people think a creator means a writer, but the reality is there are many different forms of creation and creators, and the DMs Guild needs to be a place where all those creators can thrive. So we need to support artists, we need to support editors, we need to support graphic designers. And as we've seen, when they come to the guild, the product quality goes up, and then the customers come, and then everybody benefits from it.
For sure. And I think, that is a great point about creators are more than writers. We were even talking the other day, Anthony, about kind of like writers still kind of get a lot of royalties, but you want to do right by the people who are spending a lot of time doing their specialty and that sort of thing. And it's great to see that editors are really starting to be recognized in a big bad way on the guild, and the need for development and playtesting and that sort of thing. It has really elevated the content on the guild to an incredible level. I was putting stuff on the guild when it first came out because I had all this stuff on my blog that I wanted to get on, that if I put on today, right, like if I launched it today, it would disappear because it doesn't look, is not of the quality of many of the things that end up on the guild. And one of those things is the Candlekeep Companion. Okay, so this is one of my favorite D&D products ever, period, end of sentence. Forget about on the guilds, wow. Right?
High praise.
Yeah, we're going to quote you on that on our product page. Is that okay?
Yes, absolutely. So it is, I mean, the level of detail and the level of utility this thing has is incredible. And so it's great because if you're playing Descent into Avernus, there is a big Candlekeep chapter that I frankly wish was as in-depth as your companion is, right? And so this partnered with that is really great. But this is also just something you could use on your own if you want to have your players experience Candlekeep for any number of reasons if you're in a Forgotten Realms game, or if you just want your players to experience like an amazing library that has a rich, detailed history. You know, you could change the name of Candlekeep to make it whatever you need it to be and still have it be this amazing library filled with lore and that sort of thing. Where did the genesis for this idea come from? And how did it all come together?
I was actually trying to remember that because I thought he might ask that, and I was thinking about it. So if I remember correctly, we were thinking about doing a library supplement and maybe mentioning Candlekeep to kind of tie it into the hardcover. And, you know, Anthony, he won't say it, but he's very brilliant. And he challenges me often. And he, you know, over time, he'll mention something to me and I'll be like, nah, not really. And the next day he'll mention it again. He'll give me a new pitch. And I'll be like, okay, maybe. And then somehow we have a Candlekeep supplement, and we have MT Black looking at our outline and saying, hey, have you looked at my Kalimshan guide, and maybe try structuring it more like this? And suddenly something we thought that was maybe going to be 40, 45 pages is this 85-page, you know, in-depth, you know, research document devoted to this awesome, iconic location that gets so many mentions, but that when you run it as a DM, you're just like, you find a book, you know?
Yeah, you know, in my mind, Candlekeep, right? It's kind of like when you first hear about it, like, okay, so it's a wizard tower with a lot of books, right? And it's like a city, right? It's the Vatican of libraries, basically.
It's so. What I'll add to this is, Justice and I had been working on The Fall of El Terrell, which came out in November, and that was a supplement that's an adventure with background options for Descent into Avernus, and it's like your level 1 adventure going into that hardcover. And we were trying to figure out how do we make products that can plug and play into the hardcover that people find useful. So we did Fall of El Terrell. The next thing we did was City Encounters, Baldur's Gate City Encounters, that expands on the city, the Gazetteer in the first half of Descent into Avernus. And then we figured out, okay, what's next is Candlekeep. And so when I'm running Descent into Avernus in my home campaign right now, and I got to this Candlekeep section, I'm like, Candlekeep, like I know this is a big place in D&D, but there's just like nothing here. What do I do? And Justice and I talked about, we're like, hey, there's something with Candlekeep. And Justice started really digging into the lore, because he's like,
we need a big book table. Why is there no big book tables on the guild?
he's a research nerd. You know, I'm like the guy, like I just have like, hey, we need Candlekeep. And he's looking in, he's like, hey, there's no stuff on Candlekeep. Like it's disparate. It's all over. There's like no one source. So we figured out that. And just I'll let you talk about
there is one source.
I'll let you talk about that.
Yeah. So there's this the Candlekeep forum, I guess, started in 2004. And Ed Greenwood wrote there's this thing, you can Google it now. It's an introduction to Candlekeep. And that was probably the biggest, most collected information on Candlekeep since Confrontation at Candlekeep for D&D Next. And then other than that, there's nothing in between. But it's probably about 75 pixels high and about 50 pixels wide. And you can fit about 5 lines of text on there, but it's pages long. So I spent many hours hunched like an acolyte reading this tiny digital scroll chronicling. And I think Anthony was like, you just need to copy it and paste it somewhere else. And I'm like, no, I'm method writing. I need to only read it in this format. And just consolidating all of that information with, Ed's The Herald book. And of course, we got to ask questions to Ed and verify things with him, which was, like just a crazy opportunity for me and Anthony to be able to, talk to one of our idols, this person we read about, and just, say, hey, what are the caverns like?
I'll just add real quick with Ed is, if you talk about like a genuinely good human being, I mean, Ed is the epitome of that. He is approachable, and he is just like his. If I could sum up Ed in one word or a sentence, is like, I want to share the realms with everyone, and everyone. The realms is the property of everyone. Like, he doesn't take ownership of it. Like, it's mine. Don't touch it. It's for everyone to share in, and I think that's beautiful from a creation standpoint.
He ends all of his emails with hugs, Ed.
How did you end up working with Ed? Like what was the process? Not to give away too much of the secret sauce or anything like that. But.
Yeah, I think that at some point we realized there was so much out here, and what we really wanted to do is collect all this and have no doubt that this was the most accurate and definitive guide to this thing. We wanted people who run a session in Candlekeep or write something about Candlekeep to go, oh, you got to get this Candlekeep book because that's all you really need to run this place. And at some point we realized, we need to reach out to Ed. We need to get in touch with him. And honestly, it was just an email to him, and he was, like Anthony said, he was really approachable. He's really kind, and without a question, he's like, yeah, I love Candlekeep. That's one of my favorite locations in the realms. Like, absolutely, I'd like to tell you about it. And I think even in our original question, he probably replied back with some lore right there. I was like, oh, and we might need book snippets at one point. And he's like, you got to know about Larlock's musings on the weave. And I'm like, tell me more, please.
Yeah. A fun anecdote about, Ed is when you write an email or ask him something like, hey, Ed, what is in this building, the House of the Binder, or something simple. You just want to know, like, there's books there, there's not. He will respond like immediately with like 2,000 words. Like, you're like, what? What is this coming from? It's just so much, but it's so cool to see how he is the living embodiment of the realms, and from him spills forth the knowledge. It's pretty cool to see.
Ed is Candlekeep, and that's kind of why we needed him. There's no other collection of lore than Ed Greenwood, on the realms. So we definitely couldn't have done the supplement without him.
Yeah, well, and I'm sure both of you know, right? People who love the realms, really people who have any favorite campaign setting are very particular about their campaign setting, and they want people to get it right? And the sort of fan community, the website that has sprung up around the realms is called Candlekeep, right? Those are the forums. Those are the. So when I first heard that you two were embarking on this, I was like, this is great, and this is going to be a really fun project, and I hope that they get it right, because they will be torn to shreds by the internet if they don't. And when it came out, it was like, there can be no doubt that this was done extremely well. Look, Ed Greenwood's name is right there, and you have two people who are concerned with sort of the accuracy of it, but also making this thing accessible, right? So I would worry that, like, as a person who is a fan of the realms, but not like a realms lore junkie, that, oh man, I'm not going to be able to understand any of this. I'm not going to be able to. And it really is a great resource and introduction to Candlekeep as well. Hey people, I just wanted to take a quick break to remind you about Burn Bright. That's Burn Bright, BRYTE Burn Bright. It is an original science fantasy role-playing game that I worked on. I was one of the lead designers for it, and it is available exclusively on Roll20. It's a super awesome game. You get to play alien species at the very end of existence who dare to hope in the face of the apocalypse. It is super duper fun. You get to play all kinds of neat alien creatures that have bizarre superpowers. There's magic. There are intelligent spaceships, and it is available right now. You can go to burnbright.com. That's BRYTE.com and go check it out. I would really, really appreciate it. I've never worked as hard on anything as I have on Burn Bright. So please go check it out. Let's get back to the babble. How did you kind of balance the deep history that was scattered throughout all of these different books and texts and things like that, and everything that's in Ed's brain with oh yeah, we also need to make this for idiots like James to read?
It's so funny. I think that's why, that's part of the reason why Anthony and I have such a great dichotomy is I kind of lean on the lore and I get interested by it. And Anthony wants to open it up for play. And so between that, he and I enter into this friendly tug of war on every product where, there'll be a line that's like, oh, nobody is allowed beyond the Emerald Door unless they have explicit permission by this and this and this. And Anthony will be like, yeah, I don't like that because we have a huge, huge fortress of all these interesting towers. We got to find a way to get somebody in there. And I'm like, okay, well, it can't be this or this because it says it can't be these two things. What else you got? And he's like, well, what about this? And I'm like, try again. Let's ask Ed. And eventually we get to this point where we have this mix of lore and, I mean, Anthony will tell you more, I'm sure.
Yeah, Candlekeep, that was a complicated supplement. I'm not going to lie. I'm not, Justice is more in the lore side than I am. And I am a visual person. So I could not for the life of me visualize the Necessariums, the Court of Air, the House of the Binder, like all these different things in Candlekeep. And there is no depiction of it. And what I think made the project accessible to me and perhaps to others was the map that Marco ended up making it. And that was such a fortuitous event. So Marco, he lives in Italy and he reached out on Twitter. This guy is extremely gifted and he's a hidden gem. He's on Twitter. He has he had 180 followers at the time. And he tags me and he tags some other creators. He's like, hey, I lost my job because of COVID. I'm in Italy. It's really bad over here. If you need any cartography, can you hit me up? And Justice and I had talked about the map of Candlekeep, and Candlekeep had changed so much in 5th edition with the image of it in Descent into Avernus. It's really intimidating. It's like a million towers.
Yeah, we did that right before we wanted to write this up. We're like, hey, here's a city.
We're like, look, we're not going to do a map. That's crazy, man. I can't even imagine how to visualize it. But we're like, you know what? I saw that message and I'm like, man, this goes back to helping out other people, right? It's like, okay, Justice and I, we split all of our costs. That's why we're a good team, kind of help with that. And I said, hey, let's help this guy out. Let's help Marco out. We're gonna do this. And Justice said, yeah. And we did. And dude, Marco freaking delivered. I mean, he made the first comprehensive map ever of Candlekeep, and it blew everyone's mind. Even Ed, he's like, this is it. This is Candlekeep. And once that map came, I understood Candlekeep. I could see it and I could feel it. And I think that's why the product is so good, because it took a really complicated, abstract idea and it put it on paper and said, this is what it looks like. And it was for the first time ever done. And I think it brought everything together.
I was joking with Anthony after he gave us those first sketches. And, people had asked us, like, is there going to be a map? Is there going to be a map? And we're like, ooh, don't answer them. And it's like that scene in Good Will Hunting where they walk out to the chalkboard and the equation is just solved because Marco, we had never heard of Marco. And then he just hits Anthony up out of nowhere. And we're like, he sends us that first image and we're like, who are you? What is happening?
Who are you? Who is this angel? Yeah, I mean, and he's going to go places like legit. If you haven't seen the Candlekeep map, Marco is selling it on DM Skill by itself. It's like $2. You could go buy it off that if you don't want to buy our companion. But it's also in the free preview of our companion. It's beautiful. It was hand drawn, by the way. He literally drew it by hand.
Wow. It is that is one of the things I wanted to ask you about. So I'm glad you brought it up, because I like the moment the product dropped, I saw people sharing the map like, oh my God, look at this map. This map is amazing. We finally have a map of Candlekeep and it is incredible, right? And so that was great to see, because I had seen that initial message from Marco. And it was awesome to see, like, yes, someone needed a map. Someone took a chance on him. And he really, he delivered, put his money where his mouth is, so to speak. And I do think that because you have given him the chance, now other creators are definitely going to work with him. That said, if you want to see the map, you should just buy the whole Candlekeep companion, because it's great. They support Margot and everybody who is involved on the product, right? It is a really fun and great product. Like I said, I think it's one of the best D&D products ever, kind of period, hands down, because there's so much there that you can do with it. And when I was going through it, I was like, wow, adventure after adventure is in here, and there are all these great ideas. So I think it's a big boon to people to go check this out. What is next for the two of you? I know, it's like, wow, we just put out this thing. Could we please have a moment to breathe? But is there anything on the horizon that you're ready to talk about yet that you can share with people?
Yeah, I think we can. I think the Gamehole Con stuff we can. So Gamehole Con, they made a public announcement. Justice and I are both writing the CCCs for them, and I'm excited because, again, CCC is where I got my start, and I have the opportunity to write the first Tier 4 CCC for Adventures League. So I've never written a Tier 4. I know someone who has with the Planet of Terras to maybe offer some good advice here. But I'm trying to make sure I live up to the expectation of what that is. And that's in the Border Kingdoms, which, funny enough, is Ed Greenwood's new book, was with Alex, who runs Gamehole Con, what is on the Border Kingdoms. So it's funny how everything's coming together, because I am working with Ed a little bit on that to develop the lore within the Border Kingdoms for that adventure, to make sure that when we deliver the first Tier 4 ever, it has very precise lore that Ed approved of, and we deliver a great product to the community that way.
Definitely great to see your names on the CCC. We actually, it has not been released at the time we've recorded this, but I have recorded with Alex a whole conversation about the Border Kingdoms and the book that he and Ed just put out, which is also another beautiful, amazing book filled with adventure ideas and has a really great cover. And so it's, I think the partnership there with the two of you working with Alex is really, really very, very cool. So, and Tier 4, good luck. Good luck. So
thank you.
My advice is throw 50 Tarrasques at people. And
that sounds reasonable.
There we go.
Yeah. Some of them invisible, some of them not.
Well, Richard Witters was just he put that Tarrasque born basically looking on Twitter. Oh, it was so cool. Made me want to write the race.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, Tarrasque Morn could be it would dominate. It would dominate. And everybody would be like, well, you could just cast Fly and then hit it with Acid Splash a bunch.
Yeah, I'm really lucky to be able to work on that with Anthony. I'm writing a Tier 2 for that. And, Anthony's so well-versed in, these ALCCCs. And so, I learned from his adventures, and today I bought the Diabolical Dive and your adventure, Losing Phi. So I'm reading through those to try to get a sense of it. But it's a real blessing to be able to ask Anthony questions, to be on a team with him where we can share things and cooperate, because he has so much wisdom in that department where I'm super intimidated by the structure of these CCCs. I don't have them down yet. And so he's like, relax, you'll get
it. You will. I think the structure of Adventurers League format is something that is hotly debated all the time, and also constantly shifting just enough to be annoying. But the truth is that I believe you two could write a great adventure on the back of a napkin.
We've probably done that. Maybe not a great one.
Exactly. So let me ask you then, is there anything that you all would like to see? Do you have any sort of pie in the sky projects that you want to do either on the guild or somewhere else? Do you have anything in particular that you would really like to create? Like for me, I have this idea in my head for a sequel adventure to Out of the Abyss, right? The Rage of Demons storyline. And I don't think I'm ever going to be able to put it together just because it's going to take forever. And I keep getting, sidetracked by other projects and stuff. But do you have anything in your brains that you want to see that you're okay with talking about at the moment? Or would you rather keep all that stuff inside your head close to the vest? That's fine too.
I'll go here. If I had all the time in the world, right? Like if time was not a constraint, which it unfortunately is, there is an adventure idea that I have right now that I can't get to, but I want to one day. And it's a one-on-one adventure. I really, really enjoyed designing the Blood Hunter. And I think there's a lot left to be explored. And I would tell any creators on the guild, do a one-on-one adventure. And I would challenge you. I think one-on-one adventures are done best when they're built around a class, because that's just me personally. I think you get a lot more the world building out of it that way. It can really specialize around everything the character does is built in. But a bard adventure, specifically a heavy metal bard, Tenacious B, it would be called Tenacious Bard. And it would be, this bard. The idea is you are a bard and you're going to hell and you're going to go fight Asmodeus in a rock-off. And that's kind of like how it culminates. And
he loves it already.
It is like the culmination of bringing pop culture, The Devil Went Down to Georgia, Tenacious D, and then like D&D lore, and just like because Asmodeus is like contractual, like he can't not do that. If you by law, by devil law, like challenge him, he has to rock off with you. So I think there's some cool stuff there, and I want to explore. This is kind of like my little really wishful thinking idea. But the Avengers, you have Nick Fury, and he goes around and each Avenger movie is like the Hulk, and then it's like Iron Man. Well, I thought it would be really neat. You saw it in the Blood Hunter, Mordenkainen with the balance. He comes and gets the Blood Hunter. Well, if I were to do these other one-on-one adventures, I think I would do them where Mordenkainen gets the Bard and Mordenkainen gets the other class. And eventually I would do a final adventure where you play with all of those classes. Like each party member is one of those people that played that one-on-one. And it's kind of like the Avengers movie adventure, if you will, the bringing together the minds. That's my little pie in the sky kind of concept.
Wow. That's really first of all, yes, absolutely. You've got to write that one-on-one bard adventure. Oh, it is amazing. But also the idea that, right, you would do one kind of for however many classes and then have a Avengers style, everybody gets to come together is really cool. I like that a lot. I hope that the gods grant you the time to do that. So we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Or other guild creators out there. Hey, hit me up, and
there you go.
There you go. I may not have the time, but other people might. So we can do this.
That's true. You could be the creative director for the whole line.
There you go.
That'd be awesome.
There you
go. Justice, how about you?
Yeah, I feel similar to Anthony. I think I wonder how people like you, James, must feel at this point after having written for so many things. I imagine you have a pile of ideas. I used to pin them on my fridge, and there's too many now.
Yeah. I keep a like a notepad on my phone of ideas, and it's just now when I go to add a new one, I feel like I'm scrolling for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of so I'm they'll put out they put out that list. I think D&D Beyond did about the tiers of play that people are using right now, and it's so it's so heavily towards tier 1, tier 2, and barely into past 10th, 11th level. I really kind of wanted to do something for Descent into Avernus that took place afterwards, where because El Terrell used to have this. The High Rider turned out to be a vampire, and I wanted to do something where he returned and just kind of allude to it throughout the entire campaign, and then do these series of adventures where you kind of build a side villain and foreshadow them at specific points to that when you finish the campaign, you have built a villain for like a capstone adventure. But I don't think I'll get there. I also really want to do this. Maybe I'll put it on the blog or something. I want to do these mind flayer weapons that get charges from sucking up brains. And the more intelligent the creature that you try to harvest their brain, you get more charges from it and can like use them to like make old fashioned ray guns or something from like Expedition to the Barrier Peak. And just just so that way, like whenever an enemy is about to die, one of the characters like, wait, we have to harvest the brain.
That is excellent. I love that. I love both those ideas. I have a lot of ideas like that for sort of capstone adventures. There's 2 books that I would love to coordinate, and I just will never have the time probably. One is Capstone Adventures, right? Like you want to keep going with Tomb of Annihilation. Here's an adventure that will take it for you. You want to keep going with Descent into Avernus. Here's Justice's adventure that'll take you there. The other one is I want to write the loser adventure, right? The what happens if you fail, and then you can create new characters who come and try to redeem the mistakes of your old characters who died in TPK during Rise of Tiamat, right? And so now what does the world look like now that Tiamat is loose, and what do you have to do, and that kind of thing? Those would be the 2 dream products.
I think James Hike put out a thread on I think it was Tiamat and the dragons like taking over Waterdeep or something like that on Twitter once, and I thought that was so cool. And yeah, that sound. It's just I was listening to Ashley Warren on Down with D&D today, and it's like she said something like, "It's so different. So many people who have been dungeon masters, they have campaigns." But turning your campaign, even a campaign you've run, into something that other people can run is a totally different ballgame. And like, yeah, I have notes from my campaigns just sitting out there, but they take so much work to convert. I just don't have the time.
Yeah, it's definitely true. They take a lot of time and a lot of energy. So props to those who do, and props to you too. Oh, one other thing that I wanted to talk to you about: The Fall of El Terrell. Another great adventure that people should really check out. So I was talking with Mike Shea about this the other day, and he was like, this adventure for me is the way people should start Descent into Avernus. Like, this is great. I love this thing. I'm a big fan of Mike Shea. He's kind of what got me into podcast and design and that sort of thing. So, and I was like, yeah, absolutely. This is an amazing adventure. And I was wondering if you could talk to me a little bit about the ideas behind this sort of starter adventure you put for Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus together, which is just great.
So Justice and I talked. That was the first collaboration we did when we formed our superhero team, if you will. We said, hey, the beginning of Descent into Avernus, it can use more oomph. We were kind of looking at Twitter, looking at feedback, and people were saying, "Hey, what's up? We start in Baldur's Gate, but we don't see this, cataclysmic event that occurs." So when we were talking about a storyboarding and whatnot, we said, you know what? We want the characters to be invested in El Terrell, to witness the downfall and to have an emotional tie to that, so that regardless of motivation of your character, I want you to feel emotionally invested in saving it. And so we started to develop it. And we realized there were some ties to Tyranny of Dragons, because in Tyranny of Dragons, you actually, go through Elturel. So we kind of have it as it could work for both. Even the timeline's a little bit off, but you can make it work at your table. And I think the biggest part that Mike Shea, Sly Flourish talked about, he mentioned, and it was something I put in there, was there's this character called Grace. It's a little girl who I kind of think of as like Hermione. She's extremely smart. She wants to be the next, head wizard of like Waterdeep. And she tells the characters save her from a attack of wolves. They save her. And she says, hey, I'm going to go and be a great wizard. And she has a rainbow scarf. And they wish her well. And she goes to Elturel. And they go into the woods and you fight the different cults of the Dead Three there. So it kind of ties you into what you're going to see in Baldur's Gate. But at the end, when you're done with the adventure, you're coming back, you're going back to Elturel. You see this, the Hiroshima, if you will, of the Forgotten Realms occur. And it's little things like you see this rainbow scarf floating in the wind back towards you. And it was, all that is built on just tying that emotional, like, gut punch. And we left it where, as if you're a DM, is Grace dead or is she trapped in hell and do you have to go save her? And it's little things like that we wanted to make the characters motivated to, like, this, I want to save Elturel because a little girl is trapped in hell. Something so simple, I think, creates a bigger, more impactful story plot device. And so that was kind of what we did. We just wanted to make an emotional beginning to the adventure. Justice, you want to add anything to that?
Anthony is really talented at making things dark, like a good personal dark. I remember when we were coming up with ideas. I don't remember what it was, but he's like, "What about this?" I was like, "It's too much, man. It's too sad. We got to pull it back just a little bit further." But yeah, you did your design dash and with Randall and these kobolds going inside him. But it's like a sick kid, and all these adventures. I think that if you were a playwright, you would exclusively write tragedies. But it's that there's something about making something personal, like smaller scales. Those stories matter so much more to parties in a game where usually everything is such a large, scale, the fate of the realms, all those things. But the realms only matters if you know people in it. It's like stories like Logan. The movie Logan is so good is because Wolverine is just protecting these kids and you don't see a huge plot going. It's really just him and this group, his possible clone kid. Sorry, spoilers if you didn't know about that. But those small stories are what makes D&D special. I mean, I posted a joke on Twitter just last week about like a lich disintegrating people, but people lose it if you make the lich kick a dog because they're like, that small thing, it always motivates you when it's personal to your character. And I think Anthony did that really, really well with Grace and her pet donkey.
Yeah, Lonky the donkey. It was had like a missing ear. It was like, it was a good little donkey, but it had been through rough times. So.
Yeah, you see a wedding in that adventure and like people make their vows under the companion's light. It'll get you.
Well, it's great. And it was one of those things where when I saw it, I was like, yes, absolutely, because you don't see the actual fall of Elturel in Descent into Avernus as written, right? It kind of happens off screen, which is a little bit of like, wow, but come on, this is such a thing people need to see, right? So the fact that was in there made it like a yes, absolutely. I'm so glad someone made this. But then all of the personal touches that were in there that really tied you to the game seemed to make it even more important, because the beginning of Descent into Avernus, which is great adventure, worked on it, it's great, awesome. But the beginning of it is like, here you are in this city where everybody's an a-hole. And and I have, as a DM, I've made the mistake before of like, you start the characters out in this place where they're getting backstabbed and everybody's mean to them and nobody's paying them what they say they're going to pay them, all that kind of stuff. And then the characters are like, well, why should we even save this place? Like, let's go somewhere else. We don't care about any of these people, right? And it's like, oh yeah, when you can invest people on that personal level and make them care, it really is a big difference, and it motivates characters in a way that like waving a magic item in front of them or a pile of gold never can. And it's because you've gotten the player to care about the characters, the NPCs and the world that their characters interacting with. So it is a really lovely product. Everything you all work on is gold or platinum or perhaps mithril or adamantine. So it's really very beautiful stuff and very great stuff. And this is just the beginning of two pretty awesome careers that I'm glad are intersecting, and I'm glad you are both in this community. Now, before we go, let's find out where people can find you on the internet. Anthony, let's start with you. Where can people find you?
So I have my Twitter, which is at Thrawn589, big Star Wars Grand Admiral Thrawn buff. And also got a website up, anthonydreams.com.
Excellent. And where can people find you, Justice?
My Twitter is at Justice_Arman. And I have a website that will soon be under only the domain www.justicearman.com. Thankfully, not a lot of people have my name.
Thank you so much for listening. I love when Justice and Anthony are around. And if this show was going to have me as its host much longer, I would definitely have them back. But episode 200, if you haven't heard, is going to be my last episode as the host of Tabletop Babble, but do not worry because it is sticking around. New hosts Amber and John and Kenny are going to be taking over when this show moves to the Geekspective Podcast Network. You're going to hear them shortly on the show. You are going to love them. Amber's been on many times, so has Kenny as well. So you are really, really going to like what they have planned with the show. I can't wait to become a listener. But I would love to hand them a show fully loaded with lots of Apple Podcast reviews that are 5 stars. So head on over to Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star review, and say what you love about the show. They're going to be talking to creators and people who make awesome games just like I do every single week. So it's not going to be that different, but it will be super fun and awesome. So go to Apple Podcasts. Please leave a 5-star review if you haven't already. And if you have, thank you so much. And quick reminder, go check out Burn Bright, an original science fantasy role-playing game I created. It's at burnbright.com. Bright is spelled Bryte. All right, you can find me on Twitter at James Intricasso and check out my blog, worldbuilderblog.com. Tabletop Babble is a show on the Don't Split the Podcast Network, and this episode was edited by Nate Pauzenga. Our theme music, which you're listening to right now, was provided by Battle Bards. Many thanks to Rudy Basso for founding DSPN with me. All right, everybody, go enjoy your games and check out burnbright.com.
I'm Lisa Chen, and I host Behold Her, a monthly podcast that shines a spotlight on women in the world of tabletop games. There are so many women to behold in this amazing hobby, and our experiences as female gamers are as diverse as we are as individuals. Through one-on-one interviews, audio essays, and panel discussions, all centered around a monthly theme, the guests on Behold Her share their unique stories as players, game masters, designers, artists, organizers, and so much more. Their words are inspiring, uplifting, and informative. Check out Behold Her Podcast wherever podcasts are found, or visit beholdherpodcast.com.